maybe thus far. They want to take us into a hot war with Russia.
Wait, how many people did it kill?
At least 400,000 for the Ukrainian side. For Russia, maybe
400,000 soldiers gone.
Yeah,
with the
100%.
Wow.
For Russia, maybe 125 to 150.
What does the mainstream media report of Ukrainian
The
soldiers?
exact opposite. They say,
nothing close to that.
They say Russia's lost 300,000, Ukraine's lost like 90,000.
Yeah. That's what the MSM says. But it's really closer to 400,000 killed in Ukraine. Wow.
Yes. Can you imagine that?
That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean,
in a year only. Well, a year and a half now at this point, but.
Yo, that's wild, man.
400,000 soldiers killed, bro.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Russia has a population 4 times the size of Ukraine. They're a military state. This is literally in their blood.
Yeah.
People ask at the start of this, they ask, how serious is Russia? They're 27 million people serious. That's how many they lost in World War II. And they beat the Nazis, and then, we all know what happened. But that's how serious these people are, and this is in their blood for generations. You think you're going to take on the Russians on their home court? Well, Hitler failed. He killed himself at the end, loser. Napoleon failed. Okay, so he failed. So what makes you think that Zelensky, the Hitlerite crack addict, is going to be any different?
Facts.
He's not. He's not.
We were talking about the petrodollar and BRICS. There was something that you wanted to talk about as far as
but you couldn't say it on YouTube.
But you couldn't say it on YouTube.
What it means for America, what's gonna happen to people, the dollar itself.
Oh yes.
The future, World War III.
Your prediction.
I don't remember exactly what I was getting at, but all I can say is that the dollar is going to completely collapse. And
when do you predict it will collapse?
Who knows? I think if you would ask everyone that question before the war in Ukraine broke out, they would have said maybe it's not for a very, very long time. But as Lenin said, sometimes you have 10 years worth of history that takes place over 7 days. Sometimes you have like 7 days of history that takes place over 10 years. So it's like these things can happen so fast.
Yeah.
We're in one of those moments right now. People don't understand it, but we're in one of those moments.
Yeah.
Do you think America's done for? Like, it's a new Sodom and Gomorrah, you think, at this point?
I think that every nation that is allowing 10-year-olds to cut off their dicks and they're pushing all this tranny nonsense, I think it's all Sodom and Gomorrah. I hope that every last nation that's pushing that goes up and we'll see what happens. But,
bro, say what you want to say.
In flames, man.
It's gonna go up in smoke, and I think God's gonna do it justice. He's fair, and it's criminal what they're doing right now. It's sick.
I mean, back in history, if you look back at Sodom and Gomorrah, they were doing what we're doing today, just on a lower scale, you could say, and they found actually artifacts of burnt glass, burnt actual like material. And they said, scientists proved this, that it was fire from the sky. I mean, that's incredible. So I mean, even today's time, we're gonna suffer for what we've done as America. I think,
you spoke with Tucker Carlson, I think a couple months back, if I'm not mistaken, right? On was he still on Fox at the time?
Yeah, still on Fox.
Tell us about that, man. How'd you get in touch with him? How was that interview? I watched it myself. I thought it was great. But how'd you get that lined up? Tell us about that.
Tucker's a great guy. That's why he got fired, and because he's a great guy and he tells the truth. He did a podcast today, and he said, they never told me why I got fired, but I know that Ukraine made a lot of people really, really, really mad. My views on it made them very mad. And when I he confirmed that it was Zelensky. They had a conversation with the Murdochs right before he got fired. Zelensky did.
The Murdochs out of North Carolina?
The Murdoch family for Fox News Corp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind. I'm thinking of the ones, the guy that murdered his family.
No,
my bad. Out of North
Murdochs.
Carolina. Yeah.
Murdoch's Fox News family. They had a meeting with Zelensky just about 2 weeks prior to Tucker getting fired. And you connect the dots and you see what's happening. But no,
they said something with a female intern or some bullshit like that. He made misogynistic comments. Is that's what like the main
world
thing
is
they said.
misogynist. Okay, so it's like go cry about it.
Misogyny.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, Fox News. You had like everyone saw that movie where they made the movie like Margot Robbie and the Fox News movie where they said that they raped them all at Fox News or something.
Can't remember that one.
Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie. I forget what it's called, but they said they accused.
The chat will say it.
They accused sexual assault of the Fox News executives and stuff.
Gotcha.
But it's like that's literally ingrained into your company, and you're going to take out Tucker. I'm sure Sean Hannity does the same thing. I'm sure they all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Again, if you're
They
not
only hire hot blondes anyway that are young. I mean, let's be honest, Fox News. So it's like bro.
Again, if you're following their agenda, you're fine. If you're not, it's an issue. Look at Trump.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So Tucker was. But anyways, his team reached out. They had me on the show. I'm now working. So Tucker's off doing his own thing. He's very successful, obviously. He's got the most viewed interviews on the internet.
Yeah.
And Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate's number 2. Trump's number 1.
Yeah. How many millions did
262 million.
For Trump?
Yeah.
Damn.
Let's check it right now.
Well, what did the Tate interview do?
I don't know. I think it hit like 91 million or something.
Wow. That's crazy. And he did it on Twitter too.
Yeah. So he's doing his own thing over there. So his former producer is now my PR guy. So we're working together too. So
nice.
they're all good people. Someone in the chat asked about a manager or PR person if you're doing a YouTube. Someone said that earlier. Super chat.
Gotcha.
I don't think you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, no. Once you grow and you get a lot bigger, then potentially, yeah. But you want to learn how to do all that stuff on your own. Then you hire someone so they don't try to finesse you.
I say do your own thumbnails. I still do mine.
Oh, you still do your own thumbs?
Edit in thumbnails.
You're better man than us.
Yeah, that shit sucks. I got outsourced that immediately. I did like a few, and I was like, man, this shit's trash.
Yo, you using Canvas, bro?
Yeah, that shit's terrible.
Hell no.
Yeah. All right, so you did the interview, everything else like that. Do you still keep in touch with him since, or?
I've never personally talked to him.
Like in person?
No, we've never met.
Just that interview.
It was a reaction?
No, I mean we've done like
a remote interview.
Remote interviews, communications, but we never met in person.
How was the Piers Morgan one?
Yeah, that guy sucks.
I feel like he set you up, bro. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he told me he was coming on for a debate. He wants to have me on again. So I'm going to be going to Russia in a couple, in soon, and I'm going to be maybe coming back through the UK for an in-person thing with him. But
who are you guys going to debate?
Well, he had me on to debate Ukraine, and all he said was, I mean, I hate British elite. Like, they're the worst people on the planet. They are the actual worst people. City of London's the worst on the planet.
London does suck.
Bro.
I can acknowledge that London fucking
who
sucks.
wants to live there, bro? That shit's ass,
trash.
dog.
London sucks. But sorry, continue.
And
No,
the girls
it's
are
true.
ugly.
It's true. It's all true. The accents, it's almost as bad as Australia.
It's dangerous as hell.
Would you like some tea?
Yeah.
Crumpets.
It's expensive, gloomy, dangerous. Like,
You fucking wanker.
go ahead.
My ancestors came over on the Mayflower. They fought in 1776. They fought in the Civil War, which was a U.S. proxy war against Britain. I think we need to invade Canada and fully liberate it because it's still...
That'll be pretty funny, actually.
You laugh, but
No,
okay,
Trudeau's
you want to
fucking
send $200 billion to Ukraine, or do you want to send $200 billion so we can liberate Canada from Trudeau? It's a British Commonwealth still.
Yeah, Trudeau. Yeah.
If we ever try to break through in the United States and become our own independent, country again, which, I mean, I think Trump is the closest thing we've ever had to that, and look what they're doing to him. They're probably going to try to kill him. But if we ever truly assert ourselves, nationalization of our commodities, banks, get rid of the privatization of our most vital resources, the UK, France, Germany, they're going to come together. They're going to, convene in some conference and say, we have a crisis in America and we need to send our boats to, the Atlantic shore. They're going to come and try to land over here and start some sort of a war. I think that they'll probably try to do it like what they did in 1812, going through Canada and trying to wage a war on us through Canada. They burned the White House when they did that. So I think if we take Canada, I think we eliminate one of the potential outcomes of them starting a war against us if we ever liberate ourselves.
What do you think has been, because the Canadian economy has been doing pretty bad. Their dollar has been going down precipitously. It's been really off. I mean, I think a Canadian dollar right now is worth like maybe 50 cents on the U.S. or close to it.
Yeah.
Every time a Canadian comes down here, they complain about how little they can afford when they come to the United States, especially Miami, which has gone up in price. What do you think has led to the downfall of the Canadian economy?
I'm not an expert on Canada, but what I'll say is it would be better off in American hands. And I mean that sincerely. And Tucker's talked about that as well. He seriously put that forward. And I think that when you look at Canada, they're obviously trying to do away with all of their oil pipelines, and that's the bedrock of their country is oil. And they're trying to get rid of that. They're not trying to build new pipelines to their eastern coast, which they could utilize for Europe. I think that they just need to tap into all the oil imaginable there, and they have a lot of it. And Keystone was Axe. That would have been great for Canada. I also think that you have significant population issues in some parts of Canada right now. The more rural, poverty-stricken parts, where it's like the meat and potatoes of Canada, they're better off. They have younger populations with families coming up, but there's a lot of Canada that is in a really grim era right now when it comes to like an aging population that's about to die off. They're sucking up all of the public resources, and they don't know what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And no one wants to have a baby in Trudeau's country.
Yeah. Birth rates are low. And I mean, that's common of all the, first world English speaking countries, whether it's us, the UK, Canada.
So you mentioned earlier you're a MAGA communist.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually mean? Because I heard you say it earlier, but for Rumble purposes, could you go more in detail about that?
Well, it definitely means liberating Canada. That would be part of it. But in America, what it looks like is, looks like a number of things. I think I've mentioned some of the big ones, of course, but at its core, what is communism? It's not like communism looks different to everywhere it is. China looks different than Soviet-era communism in the USSR, but in America, in the Western Europe, what you think of when you think of communism is like blue hair Starbucks workers with their dicks cut off or something. But the fact of the matter is that's not communism. Communism is historically conservative. In many eras, it's been historically Christian, Orthodox Christian, and communism at its core is about returning power to the common folk, to the working man. The working man's been kicked down too many times in this country. It's terrible. We got 600,000 homeless people, 60,000 of which are homeless veterans who served our country.
Terrible, yeah.
And what do we have at the top? We have these financial elites. We have that are just raping our country when it comes to our public resources and outsourcing our manufacturing. So what we need to do is we need to turn our major energy utilities into public commodities. There's no reason why shareholders X, Y, and Z should be making millions and millions and millions of dollars a month off of you turning the lights on in your home. Everyone needs oil. Everyone needs gas. China understands that. That's why, they don't have billionaires getting rich off of basic goods. Okay. The other thing that you have to look at is how do people actually get rich? How do you get rich? Because no one wants equality. Marx and Engels actually said equality is bourgeois. That's another common misconception. There's no such thing as equality in communism. Lenin said if you don't work, you don't eat. And I know this chat because I watch this show. It's a bunch of young, hungry men that want to do better for themselves, that want to get rich. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think the problem is when you have hordes of elites that are stealing all of our resources and weaponizing them back against us. And I think through nationalizing and, making certain commodities public again, I think that would be a first step. I definitely think that banks shouldn't be public either, because why is it that JP Morgan, all these banks, you name it, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo,
Chase,
Capital One, they're making so much money off of what? Off of screwing us all over. So why don't we set out to do what the founding fathers of our country stated, have public banks that actually invest in our communities rather than investing in these crazy ideas that go back only to harm our country, Why don't we have banks that benefit us?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just so I can understand. So you're for communism in the aspect of resources that everyone else uses need to be nationalized and not necessarily privatized with billionaires that run it, if I'm not mistaken.
That's definitely part of it. I think also a really big thing that we need to focus on here is having essentially a new industrial revolution. I mean, what do we have in America today? It's like this Byzantine labyrinth of insurance companies, law offices, random shit that no one needs, you know? You have, of course, the service economy, but no one makes any money off the service economy. I think that can all be eliminated through AI, and I think that would be good. I think what we need to have is shorter work weeks, but more people need to work, and more people need to work in industrial and manufacturing jobs. And if you have that, you're going to have people working 3 days a week, maybe 7-hour work days, and you can actually meet all the needs of a country if you just have a higher workforce that's actually working, not 30-year-old men sitting home fat as fuck jerking off the OnlyFans, because that's what we have a lot of right now in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. So more people in industry, shorter work weeks because more people work, so therefore you can spread the work capacity out. What about, so are you against like capitalism and freedom of the markets and
like Elon
competition,
Musk, for example?
Are you against that? Like, what's your take on that?
What freedom of the markets? We have no freedom of the markets. The markets are controlled by these people on Wall Street and institutions like the City of London. You know, it's not for us. There is no freedom of the market. If Russia, if an American wants to do business with a Russian, they should be able to do that if there's freedom of the market. If we want to do business with a North Korean and sell oil to them, we should be able to do that because they need it. But we can't do that, and we're losing out on opportunities to Russia, to Saudi Arabia, to Iran, to China right now because we have sanctions, we constrict our market, we don't have a free market. If we had a free market, let me tell you what it'd look like. We'd be a part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. We'd be a part of BRICS. We'd be developing a new world. We'd have Canada. We'd be building a Siberian connection line that would build a road from Alaska to Russia, and we'd have basically a world land bridge that connects the whole world for transport, for production, for commodities. It'd be beautiful. But right now we don't have a free market. Every time and again, the people in this chat know this. Every single time a working man stands up and tries to do something for himself and get rich, like you guys, I mean, I know you have other business ventures, but look at what you've done on this podcast. It's incredible. You have millions and millions and millions of viewers. You're making a lot of money. You stood up, you said something bold, and you had great ideas. And then what they do, they kick your teeth in and they said, we're going to demonetize you. Same thing happened to me. Same thing's going to happen to any of the people in this chat who try to stand up and build something beautiful.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Are you for globalization?
One world currency?
No. No.
Because you're saying like working with other countries and building roads and all this.
Yes,
So I was curious. Yeah.
I think that you should. Globalization has a negative connotation with it. Like you think of World Economic Forum when you think about that.
Yeah.
But Henry Carey was Abraham Lincoln's economic advisor, and he put forward a bold vision for this country. What he did was, in where our founding colonies were on the East Coast, where we founded this country, he invited he had an annual celebration of transferring trade craft and production and manufacturing craft with other countries. So he said, as economic advisor for the President of the United States, I'm going to invite Chinese nationals, Russian nationals. I'm going to invite people from India. I'm going to invite Japanese nationals. We're going to come together, learn from each other, and figure out how we can trade with each other better and how we can produce more efficiently. And right now, I mean, the United States is falling behind because we don't want to work with other countries. Russia has better, faster, and more defensible missiles than we have right now. They have their hypersonic missiles because we don't have the production means to actually build the metal composites used for these missiles. So we're falling behind even in our number one sector of manufacturing, which is the military, to Russia.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And we spend more military. We spend more on our military than any other country. What I think we spend more than the top 10 countries combined when it comes to military spending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spend more than the top 10 countries combined, and in addition to that, I mean, look at what's happening in Russia. We have this proxy war. We're losing immensely. Russia controls 87,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory right now. There's no going back from that.
Yeah.
And by next spring, I think Russia should take every last square inch of Ukraine, and I think they should transfer the capital city from Moscow out to Kiev. I think that's what they should do. I mean,
wow.
It used to be, right? Kiev and Rus.
Yeah.
Ukraine, Russian Empire, Kiev and Rus was the capital city. Then it became it was St. Petersburg. It was another city. Then Moscow. Why not just take it back to Kiev? Make that the capital.
Wow. And we're going to talk about the war as well. Should I hit some of these? I'll hit some of these chats real quick, and then we'll get into the actual conflict. Where we at here? And I know you guys probably got a lot to say here. Tech Urbo goes, can't see the subscribe button on here.
Yes, you must be on desktop.
Yeah,
or
you
your
got to be on
browser
desktop or on
for
your
mobile.
browser to
Safari
see the
or
subscribe
Chrome.
button, guys. So subscribe on there. But join the Castle Club, guys. If you guys really want to support, man, it's $20. And we got a special announcement that we'll make for you guys as well. Well, we might as well make it right now. Guys, if you want to go ahead and get a year on castleclub.tv, which is our locals, basically, we got a code for 1 year. It's only $100 for 1 year, guys. It's Castle at checkout. Castle at checkout, guys, and you will go ahead and be able to get get in for only $100, and it's a year, guys, a full year. So versus paying $20 for $20 per month, pay $100 and you get the entire year, man. And this discount code is going to last for the rest of the weekend. So
Liberty Weekend sale is going to end Sunday at 12 midnight.
Yeah.
So
yeah, guys. So
guys.
jump in there right now. Castleclub.tv, man. Jump in there, support this cause, because as you guys know, YouTube demonetizes. Which, hey, man, we're Team Rumble now.
Yep.
Our government's corrupt and not respected. 109 should turn into 110, and then maybe
God.
Trump can fix the Leiden's damages. Oh, Lord.
Oh, my goodness.
We know where you're going with that one, my friend. Shy Boogie goes, yo, Myron, like your stance on the whole victim mentality argument, but you think you can do a Fed reacts on a murder case that was actually racially motivated? I'd just like to see your mind in a different light. Yeah, we can in the future. Tiffany as Wild goes, I'm curious about what he thinks about the social credit system China is running.
That's a good one, actually.
What's your take on that, brother?
It's extremely overstated. they're lying. I mean, they lie about Russia and China nonstop. They say like it's the same thing they do about North Korea, Syria. You know, I mean, who has the real social credit system?
America.
Yeah, whether it's like actual private credit scores, repay shit, for-profit system that screws everyone over and debts the masses, or whether it's our, I think even more powerful
social media platforms.
Yes, cancel culture.
Yeah,
Our culture itself. Yeah, I think
mean,
that's the
if you
real
think
social
about it,
credit.
What you say will determine where you stay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. What are y'all's views on the Dollar General shooting that happened in Jacksonville? That was racially motivated. I didn't hear about it.
I didn't hear about it.
So,
But hopefully nobody died.
Hinkle on Fresh and Fit Carnival about to get real fire.
Team for
we
the
got
truth,
you,
let's
Team for the
go.
Truth, man. Appreciate that, my friend.
Shout out to you, bro.
We got here the Black Pack goes find the vision, take back your party, take back your country, MAGA communism. Okay.
The Black Pack. That's funny.
Is it really would it really be constituted as communism though? If
Is
you're
that the right
saying
word?
that, yeah, because you're saying certain industries should be I guess regulated, right? The industries that everyone uses versus having these elites and these billionaires make hand over fist with dollar. But it seems to me like you still want the people have the ability to earn money and not necessarily have the government control all of it. Or clarify for me. I mean,
China's communist, and you have a better chance of getting rich in China than you do here as a Chinese citizen. I mean, like I just said, we lost a million millionaires last year in America alone. 1 million people went from having $1 million in their bank account to going down. China is going up. They're getting richer and richer and richer each and every day. And now that they don't have COVID restrictions, it's gonna happen really fast with this BRICS development. But
that's what you were going to talk about: COVID restrictions in China and why
I thought that was the bioweapon thing.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
okay. That's what it was.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think everyone should be richer. I mean, I think the message of communism should be, we want more Donald Trumps. I think that should be the message.
Okay, because I think the way people understand communism in the West is like the government owns everything. You don't make money like that. Everyone gets paid the same. Like I think that's like their mindset on it.
But don't you think that, given that Marx and Engels or Stalin, they never wrote about that, don't you think that maybe the people in power right now have a vested interest in pushing that narrative in the schools? You grow up hearing that. You hear that, Stalin was terrible, but Stalin was a great man. I think he was one of the greatest leaders who have ever existed. And there's plenty of Russians who love Stalin. It's only the younger ones that hear all this Western garbage on YouTube and TikTok that think, Stalin wasn't so great. But you look at China today. The Chinese people are happy. Now, I think in America, we have to have American characteristics. 1776 constitutional republic. I think, Orthodox Christian, but that's me. But, there's other people who might disagree with that. But, China is, it's a very happy, prosperous place. You're more likely to get rich there than you are here.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, how so? Can you tell for the people that don't know? Because a lot of people might not necessarily know what's really going down in China. Never been there, or like you said before, American media tells you one thing. How would someone go about being rich in China?
I can't even speak Chinese. Ching where?
Well,
This fucking guy, bro.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
The the Chinese economy is built off of 5-year and 10-year economic plans that are actually integrated in uplifting people out of poverty. So, one example, Xinjiang is a region of China that many people have heard a lot about because the media says that there's like forced labor camps for Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, China.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that the CIA was funding all this Islamist jihad ideology in Afghanistan and Pakistan during the 80s, late 80s, 90s. And those jihadis came from
Bin Laden.
Yeah, exactly. And those men, some of them, they came from all sorts of places, but a lot of them came from Xinjiang, which is, it's like kind of a semi-independent people. They have their own language. They have,
maybe
different
the
religion.
Chinese equivalent to Dagestan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the Chinese equivalent to Dagestan.
So
a Muslim populace within a country that.
So they go there, they go fight, whatever. The war ends. What happens? The CIA sends them back to China, says, start doing some terrorist attacks. Start creating some problems for the Chinese. We don't like what the Chinese are doing. Make it a little unstable there, make some security risks. So they start pushing further and further and further and further west towards major cities like Beijing, doing larger and larger terror attacks. The largest one was I think it was like 80 to 120 people died in a metro bombing that they did.
Yeah.
And it was the same group. It's called the ETIM, this terrorist group that was active in Afghanistan. And what the Chinese government did was they said, okay, we have a problem right now. It's not just those old guys from the 80s that are doing this, because they're kind of old now, but they are teaching this ideology to young people in Xinjiang who are so poor, so desperate, they have nothing other than to take the money from these terrorist groups and go and do a bombing in Beijing or wherever. So Beijing said, we need to, rather than just criminalize all these people and do that, we need to cut the head off of this beast, and we need to provide economic help to these people. So they invested heavily in cotton production in Xinjiang. They invested heavily in farming in Xinjiang, and they gave the people public investment from the government to actually start their own farming enterprises, start their own, cotton making enterprises. And of course, this is going to be integrated into the larger economy, sold off as public resources to other countries. But in doing so, like I said, over the last 40 years, they lifted 840 million people out of poverty. So how do you do that if people aren't getting rich? In America, we have more and more people every year falling into poverty.
Yeah.
In China, in Asia, Indonesia, you have all these countries that are actually rising up and people being taken out of poverty. Russia, same thing. So what can we learn from these countries? At its core, whether you call it communism or not, it's a market and a government that focuses the economy upon the common good rather than private enterprise.
Okay. When you say common good, we're talking about things that everyone uses. Banks, oil, gas, electric, etc. versus...
Yeah, I mean, like, communism isn't out here to say, like, if you make a phone, like, we're gonna make these like a public commodity or like a toothbrush or something.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Like that's Hassan Piker. That's Hassan Piker's like yes, we're gonna have publicly produced toothbrushes. Like this guy's such a faggot. So, but it's true. I mean, we'll never debate. You guys got to talk to Haas of Infrared Show. He'll never debate. He's a true MAGA communist. He's the guy that started MAGA communism.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a big YouTube show and he's on Kick, and no real communist that claims to be a communist like Hassan Piker will ever debate any of us, because it counters with everything they've ever been told or taught or whatever. I mean, look at China. They ban all gay stuff. They ban all LGBTQ media. They, in all these countries, communist countries, they ban gay ideology. They ban transgenderism. They ban trans sex surgeries. Communism is conservative at its core.
It is, yeah.
And it focuses on actually helping the working man. Like, what do I think the solution is to all this trans ideology being pushed in the United States right now? I mean, I think we have to look at what the Soviet Union did. We have a lot of, land in Alaska that could be turned into who knows what. And people could be sent there if they're pushing this stuff on children. I think it's sick and criminal.
Send them to Alaska with the polar bears.
Oh, yeah. Like, Brittany Renner.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
So, and Hassan, I think does he identify as more of like a socialist or?
Same thing.
So
Yeah.
you would say it's the same thing. Okay. So you would say communism and socialism is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he calls himself like a social democrat or something.
People
like,
make fun of him, call him a champagne socialist.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why is because he's just such a faggot, and all he does is just sit around and he watches OnlyFans girls and stuff. Like he brings on all these ugly like whores on his show, and they just like sit around and talk about how they're doing OnlyFans later or something. That's all he talks about.
He gets the views, honestly.
He does get the views, but he's dying off. I mean, no one wants to see a grown man with painted fingernails, talking with OnlyFans girls. That's not it. That's not it.
You should debate him, bro.
I'd love to. What if we set it up here? I mean, that'd be crazy. But he'll never do it.
Yeah, he won't do it.
Oh, he's a
Never
coward.
do
He won't do it.
He's
never
scared.
do it.
He's scared.
He won't do it.
never
I
do
told him I'd be happy to debate dating dynamics with him because he just doesn't understand what the fuck the world is like now when it comes to dealing with women in the West. And yeah.
You know what's interesting?
And he's the one that started talking shit first. It wasn't even us. It
I'll
was
never
him.
forget. I got him called them out. Say, yo, bro, debate fresh and fit.
He started it too. Him and
Yeah.
fucking Ethan Decline. But sorry, what were you saying, Jackson?
Yeah.
The thing with all these guys, so Hassan Piker, Stephen O'Bonnell, Destiny, whatever the fuck his name is. They're dating women. First of all, Stephen, Destiny, and Hassan, they sit here and they come on your show. They come on my show and they say, Jackson, your politics are all wrong. You should focus on this. You got it all wrong. It's like, why don't you get your own house in order? Your wife, your girlfriend is getting fucked by other men right now, and you're going to try to tell me? You're going to try to tell me that I'm wrong about something? Your girlfriend's across town getting fucked by some other dude.
BBC
Okay.
gang.
What the fuck? Get out of here.
You've debated Destiny before on politics?
Yeah,
Oh
twice.
shit. Well,
Yeah.
What was his stance?
I think it was recent, so they were both about Ukraine. But I mean, I'd be happy to debate anything with him. I mean,
Yeah.
But again, it's like, yeah, we can debate, but get your own house in order. Get the guy's dick out of your wife. It's like
Oh my
it's sick. It's sick. Find God.
Oh man.
Speaking of Ukraine and Russia, let's go into that because that's what I would say you are definitely an expert in with covering the war and because mainstream media puts out certain things and then obviously alternative media puts out certain things and well, let's start from the beginning, right? Because people might be watching this and they might not necessarily know exactly what's going on. They kind of know that we're having a war or Russia's in the middle of war with Ukraine. But can you explain just give an overview of why it happened and where we currently are?
Ukraine is not a country, never has been a country, has no sovereignty. In 2014, there was a coup there that the U.S. did. Victoria Nuland, fat ass, was handing out cookies in Maidan Square. She's the state
Victoria Nuland.
Undersecretary of State. Loves Israel. And they did this coup. When a country is couped by a foreign government, you lose all right and all claim of sovereignty.
Mm.
What is your country anymore if it's been overtaken by a foreign cartel?
Mm.
What is your country if it's run by Wall Street, Citigroup, whoever? If Kiev today said, we're gonna have our own elections, we're gonna kick out all these Western NGOs, we're gonna fight for our own country, that'd be one thing. But it's not. And historically, Ukraine actually is Russian. I talked about that a moment ago. Kievan Rus was part of the center, it was the capital of the Russian Empire.
Yeah.
And for all these people saying, it's so wrong for Putin to take this Ukrainian territory. It's so wrong. Putin needs to give it back to Ukraine and Zelensky. It's like, well, the Mongols controlled all of Ukraine at one point. Too. So do you want to give it back to the Mongol Empire?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not really a valid argument. Putin won it fair and square, and he's going to take more, and I hope he takes Kiev. And I hope they go Game of Thrones style on Zelensky. And it's really just criminal because after the coup in 2014 took place at the behest of the United States,
are you talking about Crimea?
Before Crimea.
Okay.
There was basically what happened is this guy, his name is what's his name? Yanukovych. Yanukovych was elected president of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And the West was pushing him to go into an economic deal with the EU. Yanukovych said, yeah, maybe we do that, let's talk. But also Russia's over here giving us this other proposal. They want to work with us on eastern Ukraine, developing our manufacturing, because most of Ukraine's, the meat and potatoes of the Ukrainian economy is in the territory that Russia just took. Russia took $12.4 trillion worth of mineral wealth in the 87,000 square kilometers that they currently hold. So that's most of Ukraine's economy. Russia said,
from the wheat or the
it's from wheat, it's from oil, it's from raw minerals, it's from all of that. Yeah. And they also have all the ports. So Mariupol, yes. They have Nikolaev, Odessa, which they'll eventually take. They're going to landlock Ukraine. Mm-hmm. But and lots of manufacturing there as well. And Putin,
if you have a map, that you want us to use, let me know. Pull it up.
I think we're good, but okay. Putin basically said, like, look, we want to have an economic deal. Don't do the EU thing. Mm-hmm. And Yanukovych, he was the democratically elected leader. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, you know what? I don't think this EU deal is right for me. I think we're going to talk closer with the Russians. Yeah. Now, thank you very much.
He was kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like he was dancing between the two, trying to play both sides.
Yeah, and after that, boom, we saw protests start in Kiev and in Odessa. And Kiev is the center of Ukraine, and in Lviv as well. And it started out actually grassroots. People were upset, because there's a lot of pro-Western people in Ukraine. People were upset that he didn't go with the EU deal.
Yeah.
And it started off like that. Not too long after, though, of course, the U.S. saw this protests starting off, and they said, okay, we're going to capitalize on this. Inside of the U.S. Embassy building, inside of Kiev, George Soros opened up a subsidiary of the Open Societies Foundation, which is called it's called the Renaissance Group, and he actually opened it up in the same exact floor of the same building of the U.S. Embassy. So George Soros, Victoria Nuland, they were on the ground doing all this work, and not where
they're from.
Yeah, not too long after that, we saw the protests get bigger. We saw these new media groups being formed, and come to find out they were funded by the U.S. aid program and by George Soros in this Renaissance project. And they were boosting all this, fictitious hype around they called them the Euromaidan protests that were aimed against Yanukovych. Eventually, they got really big. Yanukovych had no other option but to send in, police and state guard in and say, we need to cool the situation here. And it all came to a collapse one day when the pro-Nazi side, which they actually are Nazis. This guy, Andrei Belitsky, he's the guy that started the Azov Battalion, if you know that, in Ukraine. He sicked the Georgian snipers. They brought in Georgian snipers who were allied with the Azovites in Ukraine, and they started to just rain hellfire down on the protesters in Maidan Square. And they killed several dozen people, about 60 people.
Damn.
Immediately, everything changed. And the West said, the Russians came in and did it, or the Yanukovych government did it. And the Yanukovych government said the Azovites did it with the help of these Georgian snipers. It was provoked. It was a false flag. Of course, history brings all things to light. We did find out that it was Georgian snipers with the Azovites working with the West who killed all those people in Maidan Square.
Wow.
But it caused a lot of it just caused madness and chaos. And after that took place, they stormed Yanukovych's presidential palace. They tried to kill him. He sent his motorcade out to go to Kharkov, and when he left his presidential palace, and he actually took a helicopter to Kharkov, the second largest city in Ukraine, when he left Kiev, and snipers rained hellfire down upon his motorcade because they thought he was in it. He actually took a helicopter out of the city. And then he was in Crimea. They illegally impeached him. They didn't have enough votes, but they still impeached him. They replaced him, took him out of power. They put this guy Petro Poroshenko into
And
power.
he was in Crimea because at that point it was Russian run, right?
No, it was still. So he went to Kharkov, and then he went to Crimea. Crimea, as of that day, was still Ukrainian.
Oh, so this is before Putin came in 2014. So this is early 2014, probably.
Yeah, it was like March or something.
Okay.
So it was still Ukrainian. The day he was in Crimea, which is still Ukrainian, they said in the Verkhovna Rada, which is the Ukrainian parliament, they said, Yanukovych has abdicated his duties. He left the country. He fled. So we have to appoint a new guy, even though we didn't get enough votes for an impeachment, which is completely illegal because Crimea is still part of Ukraine at that point.
Yeah.
So not too long after that is when you saw the public referendum take place inside of Crimea. They voted overwhelmingly to join the Russian Federation by 95% with an 86% voter turnout. They joined the Russian Federation, and they've never looked back ever since. But I mean, again, historically Russia, Sevastopol, they've had all these, great military triumphs there in Crimea and bases there, naval bases. So it's really not that much of a change for the people of Crimea. But what's happening in Ukraine right now, that's a big change. What's happening with the new territories that are being integrated into Russia.
I know there's a multitude of reasons why Russia, ran they call it the special military operation. What are some of the top reasons why they invaded Ukraine?
you listen to what Putin says, it's actually pretty accurate, you know?
Yeah.
I say what I just explained, the Ukraine's no longer a sovereign state. I think that's a big point.
Yeah.
It was completely co-opted by the
Controversial
West.
take too. Yeah, a lot of people would get angry for hearing that. You know,
Well,
and actually, that was the first time I've heard someone say that it's not even really a country. But I could see your argument. I could see your stance why you would say that.
Yeah, like
But-
if that happened in the United States, people would be upset, right? Like we would be like, if Xi Jinping came in and put in a new government, I like Xi, but I'd be like, well, fuck this guy. Like that's not my president.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like Joe Biden, you know, well, election,
Yeah.
right? That was not
Go on,
good.
Rumble. You can say what you want.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, that was not an election. So, anyways, but the other reasons. So after Ukraine lost their sovereignty, they started to wage war against the people that were standing up and saying, "Well, we don't want to be a part of Russia, but we want to become independent people's republic." So.
Yeah.
The eastern territories that we all hear about, Donetsk, Lugansk, they said, we don't like this country. It was taken over by the West, you know, and we want to become our own. And when they tried to do that, the authorities in Kiev said, well, we're going to send our most militant, ultra-nationalists, paramilitary groups to the border and start shelling and bombing the people of the Donbass. And over 8 years, they killed 15,000 civilians in the process of shelling the people in the Donbass. So it was just a bloodbath.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, only about 9,000, 10,000 civilians have died in the entire Ukraine war thus far. But between 2014 to 2022, the Ukrainian government killed 15,000 civilians in the Donbass that were fighting to become independent.
And they were ethnically Russians too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ethnic Russians.
And that's something that's very interesting that mainstream media never highlights. They never talk about that. And also, they don't talk about how. Well, you know, let me go over the reasons for. Any other reasons that what are the other reasons you think that they?
I think COVID may have been a part of it as well. Some people view that as a bioweapon. I happen to believe whether they had the intent of releasing it or not, I think it was like bioweapons testing and experimentation that they were doing. China and Russia were talking about that. The UN Security Council for a long time before it even broke out. COVID broke out in Wuhan.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, of course, is NATO aggression. They promised not to move 1 inch east past of Germany. NATO did in 1991.
Yeah.
They violated that promise like 16 or 18 times now. They just violated it again last month, bringing in Sweden and NATO. Those are some of the main.
Oh, there was an agreement that they wouldn't bring Sweden into NATO?
No, there was an agreement in 1991. Secretary of State James Baker, he said, which is a pretty fine guy, actually. Like when you look back at U.S. diplomacy, he's kind of the golden era. He said, okay, Soviet Union is collapsing, but they're worried about NATO still being around.
Yeah.
Because, they want to do this Warsaw Pact thing, whatever. But Soviet Union's collapsing. So in 1991, James Baker said, okay, you don't have to worry about NATO. You don't have to worry about building up like a Warsaw Pact or anything like that, or building up your military apparatus. status or going into Ukraine, for example, because we promised that we'll never extend NATO member states 1 inch east past of Germany.
Right.
And then they did. Every single addition that they've put forward has been east of Germany since 1991. And they've done it like 16 times with 16 new member states. So I think, if anything, Putin waited way too long. I think that was his mistake. I think he should have
done this sooner.
Yes, the second largest political party in Russia is the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. It's led by a guy named Zyuganov. And he, right at the start of the whole, craziness I was just telling you about with the coup in Kiev and the shelling of the people in the Donbass, the ethnic Russians, when that all began, he said, Putin, you need to go in, you need to take care of business, you need to liberate this part of Ukraine. That's what he said. And they were begging for Putin to do that for the past 8 years, and they were harsh. They criticized him for not doing it. They said, you're being a bitch, do it. And Putin this year, he did recognize. He said, I made a mistake. My only mistake was that I didn't do this sooner. I think he should have.
Trump campaigns often on there would never be a war in Ukraine if I were president. Why do you think Putin didn't invade when Trump was in office?
Well,
clearly sanctions don't hurt Russia. Russia prepared themselves for this since 2014.
Yeah.
So what is it that Trump can actually do that kept Putin out of Russia? Kept him out of Ukraine.
I don't know if we'll ever know. He said in an interview not too long ago, he said, I threatened Putin in ways that I'm not going to get into here. And those threats were very real. And Putin knew not to, test my boundaries, because if he did, I would utilize my assets.
Interesting.
Joe Biden, I think, probably welcomed what Putin did. I think in some capacity, they thought it might create a new Sino-Soviet split between China and Russia, which it didn't. But in the past, when it came to the Georgia question for Russia, like China was kind of weak on it. They kind of had a split with Russia on it. So maybe they thought they were going to create some new split between China and Russia, but that hasn't happened at all. Maybe they thought the sanctions would hurt Russia. Maybe they thought the war was going to go better for NATO, which it hasn't. I mean, we've lost countless NATO commanders and generals fighting over there and commanding the Ukrainian troops. I mean, it's crazy what's happening right now. 400,000 Ukrainian troops.
That's wild.
That's a generation of men.
I haven't heard that number. I actually wrote it down and circled it.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, 400,000.
Do you think World War III is happening?
I think it depends, honestly, on the elections. Trump comes into power, which I don't think they're going to let him do that. I mean, you covered it. His court hearing
cases. He's
March.
been indicted 4 different times.
It's for March, right? That's when they set the trial date.
For which one? For which
Georgia,
one?
right? I think they sped it up.
Wasn't that the Georgia one?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, but I don't think they'll be able to.
But even if they do that, he's going to appeal.
Yeah. I think he's going to say, I need more time to prepare.
Okay, but Eugene Debs ran for president from inside of a prison, and
They mentioned something about October, actually,
Really?
for Trump, for Georgia. I remember we were talking about on Timcast pod about it.
Yes, yeah.
I was like shocked. I was like, October? There's no fucking way.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they were talking about potentially going to trial in October. And I
They
was like,
want
no
him
way.
out of here, bro.
Yeah. But sorry.
Well, regardless of what happens, I don't think that. I mean, he's obviously going to win, but I don't think they're going to let him technically win.
And I want to talk about Trump here too, but I want to ask you this before we go into the Trump situation. Do you think he would have been willing to use nukes?
On Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Ukraine?
Yeah. Oh, no, not for Ukraine. Not
Yeah.
for Ukraine.
Yeah. Like, what do you think actually? Because he said, I will add more. I'm trying to figure out what these assets are that Trump had. That kept Putin at bay from going into Ukraine.
I don't think Trump really cared that much about Ukraine. I mean, we saw what he did. He literally held up military, he held up arms and weapon supplies for Ukraine for Zelensky based on whether Zelensky would give him, the Hunter Biden Burisma Metabiota like Shokin connections. So he said, if you don't give me this dirt, then I'm not going to give you the weapons. And that was impeachment hoax number 2. So I don't think he really cared about Ukraine. I think it's all just, I think a lot of it's bravado. I think it's show, but I do think that he wants peace. Trump is a guy who fundamentally wants peace. He wants peace with China. He wants peace, and he loves Xi. He always says how much he loves Xi. Xi is a brilliant man. Kim Jong-un is a brilliant man. I love Kim Jong-un. I love Putin, and I love Xi, and I think they're all great leaders. And I think Trump's right up there. I think with him, Putin, Xi, and Kim Jong-un, and Bashar al-Assad, and Raisi in Iran, I think we'll have a very safe world. But the globalists are going to do whatever they can to keep Trump out.
There was an interview that Tucker did, I think a couple days ago, or maybe it was a clip that was released on Twitter. And the guy's name is Boris. I can't remember his last name right now. It's escaping me. You might be able to remember it. And he said that Trump is probably one of the best U.S. presidents when it came to foreign policy.
Yes.
In decades, he said.
Yes, 100%.
Why do you agree? Why do you agree?
Well, first of all, meeting with Kim Jong-un, that was so base, you know.
Yeah, that is pretty. Yeah.
The
That's cool
Korean
that he did that.
The Korean people are amazing. I would love to go there. I don't know if you know George Galloway. He's a great guy who called balls and strikes when it came to the question of Zionism on national British TV. He was a member of parliament, and he got canned for that. But he's a very smart guy. He wants to go to North Korea with me soon, so I think we're going to make that happen. But
oh wow, okay. Can Americans even go?
Yeah.
Americans can't go to North Korea. Okay.
Yeah, we can go.
Need a visa? Probably.
Yeah. Kim won't do any interviews with Western press though.
Yeah.
So
sure, yeah.
I sent him a letter though, but he didn't get back.
Yeah. Well.
Of course.
He'll be the first one, maybe.
But that'd be cool. But well, I think Tucker met him, but he didn't do an interview with him.
Okay.
I'd like to see that. But Trump didn't start any new wars. Killing Qasem Soleimani in Iran was the worst thing he did. That was the worst thing he did as president, I think.
Who's that individual?
Qasem Soleimani was the leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and he was fighting against like ISIS and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, Jaish
Who's fighting against ISIS? This guy.
Yeah, fighting against all
Why
of
did
Al
Trump kill him
Qaeda.
then?
Because Mike Pompeo infiltrated the Trump administration. Mike Pompeo and John Bolton are the two worst. They're subhumans. They're cretins. They're cockroaches. They're parasites. And they got in the Trump administration somehow. When you become president, you have to fill like tens of thousands of positions all within, like a couple months.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? So he relied on the Republican National Committee to hire all those people, a lot of those people. He's been in business his whole life, but not in D.C. So he relied on the RNC to hire these people.
Yeah.
They put Mike Pompeo in. They put John Bolton in. Keep in mind, you guys should have on Colonel Douglas McGregor. You know who he is?
Damn, that name sounds familiar. Was he on PBD podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
He's they'll never make him a general.
I saw his interview.
Yeah, he's great. He was Trump's senior advisor to the Pentagon because the Senate would not approve him to become the defense minister. Because he's people call him pro-Russia, but he's really pro-peace.
Yeah.
He doesn't want war with Russia.
He understands Russia's capabilities.
He doesn't want war with China.
On PBD, it was a great interview.
Yes. So he was Trump's senior advisor to the Pentagon, but Trump only brought him in the last 3 months. That's why we got out of Afghanistan, was because of Colonel Douglas McGregor.
Wow.
He's a great guy. And
did he actually plan the way that we got out of Afghanistan though? Because we went out in a bad way.
No. Trump wanted to get us out quicker. He had a plan to get us out almost immediately. The problem that they ran into was, I remember covering it. Like Joe Biden was like, we're gonna hang out here for like a few more months. At first, he said we're not going to respect the pullout deal. He said we're,
And Trump also expected to win the election and get another 4 too.
Yes.
So that also kind of played into it.
He said, like, we're not going to respect the deal that Trump made. No, we're staying in Afghanistan. And then he said, okay, well, like, we'll stay there for longer than the deal stipulates, which was another 30 days, but we're going to keep, special ops, black ops. We're going to keep our
intelligence
drone program, intelligence.
Special forces, SF, all those guys are going to stay. Okay.
And the Taliban was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So the problems came when they started to do that. When they started to be like, we're not going to agree with Trump's deal, and then the Taliban were like, okay, we'll show you who we are and what we do. And the Taliban, it's such a great success story. I love what they're doing over there, and it's like they've really taken their country back. How do we expect to defeat Russia? How do we expect to beat China from Taiwan when we can't even defeat the Taliban?
Yeah.
What?
Who have like no real sophisticated military or anything, dude.
It's such a beautiful story, but Trump, he shouldn't have killed Soleimani because Soleimani was fighting against Al Qaeda, and he shouldn't have sanctioned Venezuela. That was the other bad thing.
So why did Mike? You said Pompeo or Pompeo. Why did he have such a hard on for this guy that was going after our enemies?
Is Al Qaeda and ISIS our enemies for the deep state?
No, actually, they're helping the agenda. So by taking him out, they can do their plans.
Jake Sullivan and the WikiLeaks emails.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
The WikiLeaks
on paper. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But sorry. Yeah. For the we're going to talk about the deep state. Then everything is basically reversed. It's the other way around.
When it comes to Syria, which is where a lot of these fighters are,
Yeah.
Jake Sullivan in private emails that were leaked by Assange, he said AQ is on our side in Syria to Hillary Clinton. And he was like, I think he was like State Department person or national security advisor for Clinton as her Secretary of the State under Barack. And AQ, Al Qaeda, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And Al Qaeda has been utilized against the Assad government time and time again over years and years and years of dirty war in Syria. But Trump had his mistakes, right? Syria, Iran, Venezuela, whatever. But like, he didn't do anything with Russia, and he met with Putin. That was great. You know, they met in Helsinki, and we had peace. When it comes to China, you got Joe Biden that's sending Nancy Pelosi on like a fighter jet into Taiwan to go nuke the one China policy.
Which is weird because didn't Biden get a bunch of money from China?
Well, he got money. So in China, you know, you have the Communist Party, right? But in the Communist Party, you have dozens and dozens and dozens of warring factions. So
okay.
It's not like here where you just have two options. They have like actually a bunch of options within the party.
Gotcha.
You even have like Jeffersonian Democrats within the Communist Party in China. But there are tons of people who are pro-Western. You know, these like Chinese oligarchs that want to see Xi Jinping taken out because they don't like what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And it reminds them of what Putin did when he came into power, you know, doing away with these oligarchs and doing away with Western businesses.
He sent them to Ukraine, right?
Yes.
Didn't he?
Yes.
He kicked
yes. Some to the UK, some to Ukraine. Yeah.
A lot of those oligarchs. Anyway.
Yeah.
Got him out of there.
He got him out of there. It's another reason why Western media hates Putin, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. So they. So when you ask, okay, so people say, you know, Joe Biden got tens of millions of dollars from the Chinese. Well, which Chinese? It's a huge country, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was specifically, if you look at it's the oligarchs who are trying to get rid of Xi Jinping. Joe Biden hates Xi just as much as the next guy. George Soros says that Xi Jinping is the number one threat to open societies today. Xi Jinping hates Xi, or George Soros hates Xi more than Putin. So, Trump pushed for peace there. I mean, we had like economic competition, but that's not war. That's fine. I'd rather have economic.
He raised tariffs on them and stuff, but that's fine. That's just business.
Actually, the hardliners in China, they preferred because they benefited from that. Because when they had the tariffs push, it didn't really do much to hurt the economy, and it actually pushed out Western businesses and allowed the party to centralize further. So if you look on like Weibo, Chinese social media, they all love Trump because it actually helped their country when they did the tariff war. So Trump is loved by the Chinese people and by Xi, and he was peace with them. He didn't do anything in Africa. Look what's happening in Africa right now. You got Joe Biden and Macron pushing all these, you know, new proxy wars in Africa. Trump was good. Like, he was overall like decent. He was good. And he was best at the end of his administration when he got rid of the neocons, when he got rid of the Boltons, the Pompeos, and he brought in Colonel Douglas McGregor.
So, going to Trump, what are your thoughts on, you know, he's been indicted 4 times now in 4 different jurisdictions. We have obviously the District of Columbia, Southern District of Florida, 2 federal cases. Then he was indicted in the state of New York, and then he was also indicted by the state of Georgia. What are your thoughts on the entire situation with the criminal cases against him his presidency in 2024.
Is it getting out or no?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to kill him. These people.
Wow.
These people are they're so insane. And anyone who sits here in the chat and says, I don't know if they're going to try to kill him, Jackson, that seems a little hyperbolic. Look at what they did during COVID. They shut down the entire world.
Yeah.
They shut down the entire world. Look at what they're doing with Europe right now with this energy crisis. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people. War in Ukraine, hundreds of thousands of people. They've done it to JFK. Like, you know, they could do it again. And I only say that not to put it out there and, like, you know, make something happen, but I put it out there because I know they've got Secret Service around him, but Secret Service, are they always that, that secret and that safe? I don't know. You got to make sure you have the right men around Trump at all times, make sure he's as secure as possible. He's going out in these crowds in front of tens of thousands of people, 100xing DeSantis, 100xing the snake Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, you can't compete with Trump. And
I'll ask you about Vivek next.
It's dangerous. You know, I went and saw Trump speak at West Palm Beach, and I'm like, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here.
People love him, dude. And not only do people love him, the people that love him, like, love him for real. Like, they're there and go with the hats on. They're going crazy. Every time he gets indicted, he shows up to court. There's 100 people there.
Yes.
Here in Miami, he shut down downtown, dude. When he had to appear in court down there by the federal courthouse, which I'm very familiar with. I already knew, because I've been at that courthouse hundreds of times. That was a nightmare for them logistically to deal with that. They had to probably bring in BOP and not BOP, excuse me. They had to bring marshals in from all over the country probably just to be able to help handle security at that building that day, dude.
So, when's a country most dangerous? We can look at Russia. When Putin came into power, the entire West, the diplomats, the intelligence agencies, they were freaking out because they didn't know what was going to happen with Putin, how he was going to act, if he was going to go more pro-China, move away from the West, maybe like keep Western Europe, Eurasian mindset, if he was going to keep working with the West, or if he was going to go down a very terrible path and just get the whole country into anarchy. And that's what a lot of Western diplomats thought initially, was that like the country was going to go into a path of chaos and disorder. You had the wars in Chechnya. They didn't think Putin could handle it. So a lot of Western intelligence officials, ones that don't like Putin, if you hear them talk right now, they'll say, we thought that Russia was about to go into like the most critical point in its history. There was going to be anarchy, chaos, and it was going to be terrible. Look at America right now. Where are we headed with Trump? We're in an era where like the American people know what's up. Joe Biden's not getting elected legitimately again. If they kill Trump, if they put him in prison, we're kind of at a similar point that Russia was in the 90s. Russia was at its knees economically. We are right now. We have a chance to move in a stable direction. Trump's going to have to walk on a tightrope, no doubt, to try and make it happen. But it's going to be tough with BRICS forming. But we're kind of in a similar position right now that Russia was in during the 90s. And it could get really grim really fast.
Because I can imagine, we covered it on Timcast, if Trump goes to jail or is convicted, people are going to go crazy. And that means the streets are going to be wild. It's just like total anarchy at that point.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to win the 2024 election? election?
100%. 100%. There's no other way.
Yeah.
There's no other way. I mean, Trump, you look at his crowds, you look at the policies he's pushing. You look at MAGA. MAGA, like I said at the start of this conversation, MAGA, I don't know if you guys agree, but I do think that's the heart of America right there. So much
America
so,
great again?
yeah, so much so that they'll even push back on Trump when he's saying something wrong. You know, they don't care. That's America.
Yeah. The one thing that he gets a lot of hit on for is like the COVID bullshit with how he ramped up vaccine production.
Mm-hmm.
But
he stopped talking about it though.
Yeah, he did. And the thing is that for him, because he's a businessman, he ramped it back up, not necessarily because of the pandemic, but so he can get businesses back open again.
Yeah.
That's why he ramped it up. So good intentions, bad practice to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because he knew, oh my God, everyone is so scared, whatever, and then, So, but yeah, we all know the scamdemic is on some other bullshit.
Yeah.
So you foresee that he's going to win, but you don't know if it's actually going to come to fruition, if it's going to be legit. Yeah, I have said that I think he needs to delay on all of his criminal cases, and get himself into office, and then pardon himself on the federal cases. But now did you hear about this? We talked about this with Tim Cash too, that they're trying to use the 14th Amendment and say that he's an insurrectionist so that he can be taken off the ballot.
Yeah.
Really?
You hear about that?
Completely.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That would suck.
Yep. They're trying to take him off the ballot, dude, because they know if he's on the ballot, he's winning.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So people would have to write in, or would you not even be allowed to do that?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's
a good
crazy.
question.
That's
Because
crazy.
you're right, though. Either you kill him or take him off the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Either
even if they took him off the ballot, people would probably just write in there Trump, because people, one of the it's like some kind of like running joke, like Mickey Mouse always like comes
SpongeBob.
in, and SpongeBob always comes in as like the president. like they do they do better than like some of the independents. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they write it in. Yeah.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. One year was these nuts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 1 year was these nuts. Yeah.
That's fucking funny, man.
If it can happen,
That was
it can
during
happen
the-
in America.
All right.
That was
I had
that
some
was
of
a
these chats real quick.
that was a
man.
Trump-Hillary
Hey guys,
election.
do me a quick favor real fast. I want to make a quick announcement like I said before. As y'all know, CastleClub.tv is the new website, man, where you guys can support us, man. Right now, we're running a promo for y'all. $100 off, 50% off you for the entire year. You will have access to CastleClub.tv, whether it's us kicking out annoying ass girls, podcasts where we're going to be live
Uncensored.
on YouTube and everything else like that, because we are going to have to start going to locals only to cover some of the stuff that we want to cover. YouTube, Rumble, etc. Also, we're going to be running Zoom calls on there for y'all. We're going to be giving you guys a lot of the exclusive content that we used to have back on Patreon.
And when we travel as well, you see
answering
behind the
questions,
scenes.
IRL streams, all that stuff is on CastleClub.tv, guys. So go check us out over there. And yeah, man, it would mean a lot because, like I said before, as y'all know, we got demonetized and it kind of sucks. So one way that we can, continue to have things running is obviously through the CastleClub.tv. So if you guys want to support the channel, support us, support content, and then also support Jackson, man, as well, because he's demonetized as well. What's your locals, bro?
I have no idea, but I appreciate the plug. But you guys need the support. Your audience is great, and it's just I can't believe that they do this to us,
It's wild, dude.
Hopefully Trump gets into office and then he fixes everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, and they censor him. They ban him off everything. I'll never forget. He did his full Senate interview,
Yeah.
off YouTube within like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Here's a communist solution to all this. Nationalize the social media companies. Then you can't censor anyone because it's a free speech right.
But it won't happen though. They'll never let that
I actually
happen.
like that idea.
No, I like it too, but
Because then, yeah, if you nationalize it, First Amendment, boom, done.
but
Yeah.
being 1,000% real here, will that happen? No.
I'm not, yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll never happen. But
It's a nice thought though, but I mean,
yeah, but I mean, hey, that's a good idea because yeah, if that's one thing I think would be great to nationalize is these social media platforms because at that point, the First Amendment, hey man, I'm not inciting violence. I can say what the fuck I want to say.
I knew it was bad when they banned Trump, bro. Dude, you banned
Oh,
the president? Dude,
Yeah.
who are we?
Yeah, facts.
Peons to that nigga.
Yeah, facts.
Wow.
But yeah, guys, castleclub.tv. Join in, man.
Yes.
Join in. We'll pull up the link for y'all.
And the
but
code
yeah,
is
use the club
available
Castle
till Sunday midnight.
Jump in, man. Jump
Yeah.
in right now. Okay. Johnny Silverhand goes, Jackson, what do you think about the massive elderly heavy shift of China's population, the middle generation that was affected by one-child policy? Lastly, who do you think will win the AI race, WMO?
AI race?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
I don't know. As for China's the one China policy, whatnot, I mean, China will figure all their stuff out, but I think everyone should do what Hungary just did. Viktor Orban in Hungary, you know, he's a great Christian leader. What he did was he said, if you are a mother who has more than 4 children, you don't have to pay income taxes for the rest of your life. I think that's what at least if you're struggling with population, and you want to look at it that way. But I mean, just from family traditional values, I mean, I think that's great.
You want to reward having kids versus demonize it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough. Jakes P goes, hey Myron, I'm a beginner, just started out going to the gym. How do you think I should structure my workouts and how many times a week should I work out each muscle group? Dude, very simple, 3 full body workouts per week. That will give you enough frequency, enough volume, 10 to 15 sets per muscle group per week. You'll be fine. Them boys, LLL. Shout out to Zerka. He always speaks good of mine. Shout out to Zerka, man. I spoke with him earlier today, so don't worry, guys. I'll make an announcement on that. He's doing well. That's C. What up, Jackson? I'll follow you on Twitter /X. I really spat out my coffee when you told one of the Krasenstein brothers you were tired of hearing his woman voice. F&F, y'all do your thing. Who's Krasenstein?
Who's that?
Brian and Ed Krasenstein, they're 2 brothers, like big liberals on Twitter. But it's like we said earlier, no, I don't want to bring names up on any of your shows, so I won't. But like all these, it's conservative.
Rumble, bro, say what you want. Go ahead.
Well, no, I don't want to bring names into the conversation. But like these conservative influencers, it's not just the liberals like them. Like if you have if you still are, you really can't do this with. If you're still a fucking faggot, or you have an anime profile picture, or you sound like a woman, like the Krasenstein brothers, can you really call yourself a conservative?
Fair enough.
Okay.
And last name Krasenstein. Speaking of which, I want to ask you this question earlier. You couldn't mention it on YouTube. What made you switch from the left over to the right?
Honestly, war did, and seeing what the Democratic Party was doing about war, but also
Was it the Iraqi war that made you say that?
no,
or
I'm
was
only
it-
23, so that I wasn't
that
even
was
like
before your time, yeah.
yeah. It was really, really what was happening in Syria. That was really big. Iran was big, and then the woke stuff is so crazy now. It's like the trans stuff, and that's crazy to me. And I'm a Christian, so it's like you have people saying I'm a noun pronoun now, so they're calling themselves leaf instead of he, and star instead of she. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the thing with like being like super liberal is like people that were liberal 10 years ago are considered right-wing conservative,
Now.
like crazy right-wing conservatives now. Like I always use this example. Let's look at Tim Pool,
Tim Pool,
right?
yeah.
I remember he was doing the Occupy Wall Street stuff
Yes.
back in the early 2010s, etc. They looked at him as a crazy liberal. Now he's considered like some woman from the Young Turks went on his show and said that he's like a Nazi white supremacist right-wing conservative.
That's crazy, bro.
And I was like, what? Tim Pool?
Tim Pool?
Yeah.
About
He's
people?
like one of the cleanest, conservative newscasters I know. He barely even swears on his show. So it's like, what? But that's the crazy clown world that we're in.
And the last thing I'll say is like the liberals never liked me because I was Bernie, so it's like get money out of politics and that stuff. And oppose the war. But then when the supposed lefties aren't even standing up to that, it's like, okay, well, that's not good. Let's look at what Stalin did. Stalin did some pretty good stuff. I think that's where we should be going. I think we should be emulating Stalin.
Okay.
All right.
And then you said Bernie's doing some things now that you don't necessarily agree with, but you couldn't talk about on YouTube. What were those? That you
he's the biggest proponent of this war in Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's greenlighting all the funding bills for the Ukrainian military.
Why is he so pro-war?
Who knows? Why? I mean, who knows what really happened in those backdoor DNC meetings? You know,
Does the military-industrial complex own the DNC at this point, man?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they own America, but it's like, goddamn, like can the DNC make it even more obvious at this point?
No.
Right?
No,
Because you can make the argument that they own Bush, right? Because I mean, we went to war with Iraq for like no fucking reason, but you know,
it's really the intelligence community because, I mean, look at MSNBC and CNN. Like 70% of the people that come out of government to work for CNN or MSNBC, it's this is our national security advisor, and they just came out of the CIA or some unnamed 3-letter agency, FBI, whatever it is. They are the intelligence community, and that's why they're going so viciously against Donald Trump and weaponizing all those institutions to do it.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Where are we at here? Okay. Sergey goes, Jackson, what are you naming your army in the Second Civil War?
I don't think that we need a second civil war. I think it'll be a bloodless liberation of Canada, and I think for America, I mean, Thomas Jefferson says the tree of liberty must be replenished and soaked with the blood of traitors and patriots every so often. And I think, we'll see what happens.
Famous quote. Very famous quote. Red Garnet. Yeah. In y'all's opinion, what's the best thing the younger generations can do to combat this / make sure we build the proper systems for our communities online and in person? How can we start fighting this?
It's a very good question, bro.
Not be affected?
Yeah.
I mean,
work out.
You can't really do much other than take care of yourself and your family.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself and the people around you, bro. Because the clown world is going to continue to clown. You know what I mean? What else do we got here? Someone 001, a counter argument I would ask: if we turn our utilities into non-private entities, what do we do with the landowners / mineral rights that are owned by both private and corporate entities?
Landowners and mineral rights, well, we just rip up the contracts. What do you mean? Like, this is going to be Stalin purges. And I think that we should have also a program that,
or buy them out, right?
Yeah, but fair prices, whatever. But it's never fair. That's basically ripping up a contract, eminent domain, all that stuff. And I think that also we should be working on giving the American people land, because I mean, that was the original dream. It's like, we need our land. And that's what China's done. They're giving them land, and the people are prospering as a result.
Okay. V-Man goes, Iran, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia have been invited to BRICS as well, which is going to crush the dollar-based global economy and introduce a new payment system. W guessed. Okay. V-Man. Johnny Silverhand goes, Jackson, what do you think about more people being put into engineers, technicians, scientists, and leverage resource to build a resource-based economy?
I think all of that is pretty good. I think, I like what you guys are doing on this show, because you said you're going to be bringing on tradesmen and specialists to talk with young men about how they can,
get
learn
into these professions.
I think that's great. I think that's definitely something we need. And like I said earlier, less fat men sitting at home jerking off to OnlyFans, more men doing that stuff. Scientists, I don't know about that. I don't know if we need more scientists. I think science is kind of a scam, like biology. You guys believe in genes?
Never really thought about it that much.
I mean, yeah, I would say, genes, like from a DNA perspective of like, hey, these are your genes, is your genetic code.
Like a gene, like a single hereditary unit of a gene.
Never gave it like deep thought like that, but I would say, yeah. I mean,
I wear jeans, Levi. Okay, come on, bro. Don't think about that stuff, man. Ain't making us no money.
Pause.
I'm just saying, dog.
Don't worry, Myron. Got you.
There you go. Bam.
All right.
America.
HL86Zs. Hey, shout out to all the Zs.
Shout out to the Zs, man.
Myron Stein, how close are we to World War III? When do you think it will occur, and what events are likely to pop it off? Keep up the great discussions, FNF. What do you think?
I think that we are very close, and I think that I think it could be as simple as one stray anti-defense missile that launches everything off. I mean, who knows?
We're literally that close on the brink of destruction. Yeah. Okay. Camaro Ninja Morpheus goes, join BRICS, but is against the global elite and globalism. This dude is a walking contradiction. As a veteran who proxy fought Russia overseas, I have no respect for their superior military. What are your thoughts on this, Jackson?
Well, thank you for the donation, but as a fucking retard who probably got your ass whooped overseas by the Russians, there's a big difference between the globalists and what... Okay, so you're going to sit here and tell me that the globalists, the Rockefellers, the Bushes, the DuPonts, the Sacklers, the Rothschilds, that those are all the same people as Putin and Xi Jinping? No, these people are diametrically opposed to each other. You're going to tell me that Vanguard Group, BlackRock, that, whatever, all, JP Morgan, all these institutions, that they are in the same interests as Xi Jinping and Putin? No, they're directly opposed. One group is about maintaining their global control. The other is about working with other nations to liberate the rest of the world.
Okay.
Because if that were true, it'd be over like this, but it's not.
Walking contradiction. Okay.
Communism is not an ideal or a utopia. This is from the Black Pack. It is the real movement of the people currently underway. That's it. Okay. Fripplers goes, you're full of crap. PBD literally did a breakdown on the huge amount of millionaires that are leaving China because of how hard it is to run your business without restrictions. Fripplers.
I've not seen that video. I don't know, but all I can account for is the Chinese economy, and I guess I could check out. I like Patrick Bet-David. I don't know.
Hold on. You never made the claim though that China made a bunch of millionaires. You made the claim that we lost a bunch of millionaires in the United States.
Yeah, and China's focus on alleviating extreme poverty and bringing up people to like a median standard of living.
Yeah,
that,
So, Fripples, I think you're arguing something that he didn't necessarily say.
He's arguing that they're leaving because of restrictions.
Yeah, but he never made that claim. That China, that you said you could make more money. He said you could make more money in China, but he never said that China had like more millionaires.
Okay.
Like he just said, America lost millionaires.
But for the record, I think we should have more millionaires. I think more billionaires, more millionaires. I think that's all good. You know.
Okay.
I think we should push for that.
Yeah. And then he's saying it's how hard it is to run your business. Okay. Also, what's the difference between you and the Jews that are pushing communism within the U.S.? That's from Fripples.
Yeah, which ones in particular? Are the Rothschilds pushing communism now? Like I must have missed that, but I don't think Larry Fink or the Rothschilds are pushing what I'm saying here tonight. But
I think the word communism has a bad taste. I personally want to use that word. I don't agree with it, but I can see your point of view.
Because they're taking it as like the government owns everything, capitalism is dead, everything's equal, etc. But to me, it sounds like you're talking about nationalizing certain commodities to keep, I guess, the elites, the multi billionaires that actually are able to impose their whim on government structure. I mean, or correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying.
No, it's true. It's like, why are they hoarding all our resources?
Yeah.
Why should Bill Gates have millions and millions and millions of square miles of American land that he owns and is just hoarding when, we got all the problems that we have here for the regular working man who's getting kicked in the teeth. I'll just say one thing. There's two types of communism, and Stalin won at the end with Marxism, Leninism, but there's also the Trotskyites, Trotskyism. Trotsky was a liar, a thief, a cockroach, and he tried to smear Stalin and Lenin every step of the way. And my friend Haas, I mentioned earlier, the guy who started MAGA communism, he makes the argument that we're controlled actually by, Trotskyites today, that they're the ones like Hillary Clinton, Klaus Schwab, they have like little statues of Trotsky in their home offices that you can see in some of their videos. That's a case that's been made. We're already living in communism, but it's Trotsky's vision of communism.
Okay. So there's two different factions. There's the Marxism version of communism and then the Trotsky's version.
Yeah, Marxism, Leninism is the original strain that, Mao, Deng Xiaoping, Xi put forward in China, and that the Soviets adopted in the USSR as well. It's been adopted in other places. It's the only true, honest strain of communism, because everyone knows that Trotsky was like a fool.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a loser.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot this podcast, man. Like I said before, like my thing is I'm here to learn and understand and ask questions. So
Me too.
I think that's what it's about. Mose Polanco 7 goes, in the United States, we need to revert back to a constitutional republic. Democracy is the vessel used to get from a republic to an oligarchy, communism, totalitarian, socialism, and dictatorships.
I think a dictatorship would be fine. Like, what's so bad about it? So, dictatorship of the proletariat. We right now have a dictatorship of the globalist elite. Make of that group of people what you want, but that's what it is. You can't speak out against them. You lose your job. You lose your bank. We saw what happened to Ye. We saw what happened to you guys, me. We live in a dictatorship.
Okay.
Whether you know it or not, yeah.
Gotcha.
In a way, yeah.
I see it. Yeah. China claims they've eradicated poverty in under Z, but it's not true. The only thing they've done is made it illegal to talk about it, and that's what they do with everything the China show on YouTube.
Chinaman!
Probably funded by Falun Gong. It's like this crazy cult that's funded by like anti-China billionaires that left China, got kicked out by Xi or Deng Xiaoping, and they put all this like anti-China propaganda out there.
Okay. What else do we got here? Foreigner 7 goes, Young Chi, we have communism in the States, but only for the rich. Elon Musk got $15.3 billion from the U.S. government. What type of capitalism is that anyway? See you for lunch on Sunday. And that's from Foreigner 7. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate that greatly. Remco 333, what does Hinkle think about Saddam Hussein? Oh, good question.
You know what? I know there's a lot of thoughts, and I'm gonna get grilled in the Telegram later for not having fully fledged thoughts on Saddam Hussein, but I really don't.
Okay.
I'm not informed enough to speak, and I don't speak about things I'm not informed about. But I listen to your conversation.
Hold on, stop the show. That is fucking incredible. Like, how many people actually admit that?
Not a lot.
Like, no, for real. Like,
Yeah.
like, how many people say that? Like, I'm actually not informed on this, so I'm not going to speak on it.
I will say I listened to your conversation
Respectable, man.
with Scott Ritter. Thank you. I listened to your conversation with Scott Ritter about Saddam Hussein, and I thought it was very enlightening.
I learned a lot that show too. You guys should go back and watch the interview that we did with Scott Ritter.
It's the first
all on
like
Rumble.
15 minutes too.
Yeah, and YouTube. It's on YouTube. A good part of it is on YouTube as well. But the full interview's on Rumble. Man, shout out to Scott Ritter. That was one of the best interviews we've done. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot.
And he got banned recently, right? Or demonetized?
Scott Ritter got banned, yeah. The other thing
On
I'll say
YouTube.
is like I'm only 23, so I'm trying to learn as much history as I can quickly, but
Yeah.
don't know it all.
Fair enough. Yeah, if you guys want to hear more about Saddam Hussein, etc., watch that episode that I did with Scott Ritter.
really
We
good.
went into Iraq in detail, man. So go watch that one. I learned a lot. I just shut up and asked questions and listened, and it was a great conversation. What else we got here? Anything else? Yeah, we got one. Okay. And then the swag baller, they won't let Ukraine fall. Korean War has the South near defeat and back end into a corner. They were to be slaughtered by North China / rightful owners. If Russia pushes too far, it could go the same.
Well, I think one day all of Korea will be liberated, but it was a victory for the North Koreans, and they celebrated. They just had their 70th anniversary celebration of the victory of the Korean War. But I think okay. So you could say you're going to say, well, I think they're not. So if they take the unprecedented measure of launching like a tactical nuke against Russia, it's all over. That's mutually assured destruction. So I guess we'll never know the full history if they decide to do that.
Fair enough. And guys, we'll read 20 and up from this point forward, but all the chats that came through, I'll read them. What is Jackson's stance on that little state in the Middle East that shall not be named?
Zionist power comes from the capitalist class. That's what I've got to say about it. And I don't think Israel has a historic right to exist. And I'm anti-Zionist. I stand with Palestine. I stand with Greater Syria, to be honest. But that's what I have to say about Israel.
All right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Molderine, Jackie Boy is a legend. Please tell these guys the truth about Max Blumenthal and the excellent work he and Aaron does. They were fed BS by Nick F to cover the damaging video they did. They of him. Nick is a Fed asset.
As
Black Max Blumenthal, excellent work you done, Aaron. They were fed BS by what?
Max Blumenthal it owns a media outlet called The Gray Zone, and
Okay.
they did a series of damaging, attempted to be damaging. I don't really think it was that damaging, but pieces about Nick Fuentes. It was like a 3-part series, and they were calling him a Fed and all this stuff. And I don't think Nick is a Fed at all.
Not at all.
I don't think he's a Fed at all. What I've got to say, though, the only thing I've got to say, it's like people like Nick, and, I've had dinner with Nick. Nice kid personally. We, disagree on things. But, like...
Oh, yeah. I would imagine.
At the end of the day, when you start flirting with the Hitlerism stuff, it's like we all know how that ended. He put a gun barrel in his throat, killed himself, and died like a loser. I mean, he's a faggot, honestly. And that's what happened to Hitler. So if you want to try that here... by all means, but there will be a Stalin that rises up, and it's going to end the same way.
Having a discussion with you two would be great.
Yeah, I think that needs to happen.
That'd be a good discussion.
Yes, somewhere else. Okay.
Fansub goes, you got to use some critical thinking skills. Let's see any proof for the crazy fan fiction this guy is spewing. Nothing wrong with controversial takes, but back it up. The cognitive dissonance is real. What do you mean?
I don't know.
That was so vague. We don't have
Yeah, Phantom, I don't know what you mean there, bro. Give me a 4 on Myron and I explain all historical cases with UK, Russia, that shit. This idiot has no clue about communism. I do live in a country healing from 80 years of occupation of Soviets.
Okay.
All right, Joe. Listens goes, how do you guys think homelessness could be solved in LA or other big cities?
Oh,
good question. You did a really
one.
good piece on that covering, what was it, Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's all the cities. I just moved from LA. I live there, and I couldn't walk 2 blocks to get a coffee in the morning without stepping in shit, piss, homeless. Everyone knows it. What should be done about it? Well, I think if you're a criminal, again, I think you should be sent with the transgender propagandists to the North Alaskan labor camps and dealt with there. But as for those that are truly suffering, 60,000 homeless veterans who served our country, I mean, there's a number of ways we can do it. But all the money, the one thing you got to understand is all the money, it's the same thing with everything. They funnel it into these NGOs, millions and millions and millions of dollars, state of California, into these NGOs. They have board members that get rich off of it. They do nothing, and they steal all the money. So whatever's working in California is not working right now. I think a lot of them need to be in prison. That's the sad truth. Or mental institutions. We shut those down during Reagan. I think we need a lot of those back up because these people either were crazy or have gone crazy.
Gotcha. All right. And then last one here. I love and have benefited from your male improvement drive, but we should emulate Stalin. Next, we should emulate Hitler. Science is a scam. That's just echo chamber talk.
Okay. I'll just say briefly on this.
Go ahead.
If anyone here in the room included, can provide me a picture of a single hereditary unit of a gene, I'll be impressed because I've asked that question. No one can do it for me. Gene theory is all fake. Lysenko, the Soviet scientist, was correct about gene theory. Mendel had it all wrong. There's no such thing as a single hereditary unit of a gene. So that's actually real. So the chatter can give me that picture if it's real. Second thing is, yes, we should emulate Stalin. Great man. And last thing I'll say is, why do people always say, like, oh, Stalin, Hitler, they're two worst people in the face of the history? It's like, these were guys that were diametrically opposed in the bloodiest war in human history. That's like when you have Donald Trump and Joe Biden and you're like, I know it's election day, but I haven't really decided who I'm voting for yet. It's like, how can you be an undecided voter still?
Yeah.
It's the same
thing. They're
thing.
very different. Like, it's not even a question. Okay. Anything else? All right. I think we're caught up. So where were we here?
We have as well the Streamlabs.
Yeah.
Supporters.
Yeah, guys, we'll hit those real fast too. And thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. But guys, if you really want to support, man, CastleClub.tv. Use the code Castle to get 50% off, man, and join for the year. So you don't have to worry about getting any of the exclusive stuff behind the scenes. You can go ahead and get it right then and there. Do football. I'm 19 from England. I messaged Myron on IG the other day. I just hit 1K subs and got monetized on YouTube after buying David Omari's YouTube automation course. Been watching for a year. Now you've helped me a lot. Free F&F from YouTube jail. Appreciate that, bro.
Awesome job, man.
Jackson, love your work and the truth you put out. This is from Dan Schultz. Could you please explain the warmongering cheerleaders from Zelensky's Jewish heritage is irrelevant to Ukraine's pervasive Nazi problem?
Yes, I can do it with one single coin. The Zionists actually minted a coin with the Nazis, and on one side of the coin it was a Nazi emblem. It's like a swastika or something. On the other side, it was a symbol of Zionism. They literally are two sides of the same coin: Zionism and Nazism, and I oppose both. And they go. If you really read everything that was said in Mein Kampf, a lot of it was directed at Slavs. A lot of it was directed at Slavs, and then look at what he did. He went after the Soviets. He tried to steal all their land. Stalin said, don't do it. We're going to have this Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Don't come here. We're going to build up our military in the meantime in case you do, and you do violate that deal. They did violate that deal. They came for the Soviets, and the Soviets crushed them like the cockroaches they were into the dustbin of history with their giant military apparatus that they had built up for the years in which the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was in effect. So